Even if a man encounters a good woman who has the characteristics he's been looking for, someone who's loving, caring, supportive, and perhaps even shares his beliefs, there's still a pressing worry that he can't just dismiss. He's going to want to marry her, correct? It appears to be the next rational move in a serious relationship. However, in today's society, that's not as straightforward as it may seem. What precisely does he gain from marriage? Regrettably, for numerous men, the response isn't always particularly enticing. In fact, some men might even perceive it as a precarious, imbalanced arrangement. The reality is that once a man signs that marriage license, he's possibly putting himself at risk of various legal, emotional, and financial pitfalls that may linger long after the ceremony. If the relationship deteriorates, she could depart, taking with her half of everything he has worked diligently to achieve over the years. Yet that's not the end of the story. He could lose not only his possessions, but also the children he has raised. Moreover, in many instances, the legal system may further skew the situation, where in certain areas, women might even receive compensation or financial benefits for taking the children away from him. Child support, alimony, and custody disputes can quickly escalate into a nightmare. From a man's viewpoint, this feels like a game stacked against him. It's not difficult to understand why so many men are choosing to forego the entire concept of marriage. And let's remember that the traditional role of wives, which once entailed staying at home, rearing children, and supporting their spouses, has transformed over the years. Women have grown more independent, pursuing careers, personal objectives, and aspirations. While this is a positive advancement for women's rights and societal evolution, it has also led to a disconnect between what men and women anticipate from a marriage. Many men feel that the notion of a traditional, supportive wife no longer fits with the realities of today. The conventional expectations of a woman as the primary figure in the household, raising the children, and nurturing the family structure seem increasingly obsolete in a world where women are balancing their careers, social lives, and personal ambitions. Men today are left contemplating whether they actually require marriage at all when numerous women no longer perform the roles they used to. With so many factors involved, legal, financial, emotional, it's easy to understand why more and more men are reluctant to make the commitment. Even if a man is lucky enough to meet a woman he genuinely connects with, the risks associated with marriage might overshadow the advantages in his perspective. It leaves many in doubt. Is marriage still a valuable investment in a world where the guidelines appear so unpredictable? Have you ever thought about why divorce rates continue to increase worldwide? It certainly appears that way, doesn't it? Interestingly, when looking at the statistics, divorce rates in the Western world have actually seen a decline in recent years. But here's the catch. This reduction isn't necessarily indicative of more successful marriages. The drop in divorce rates is primarily attributed to a decrease in the number of individuals getting married in the first place. With fewer marriages occurring, the number of divorces logically decreases too. Women, in particular, are feeling anxious and powerless as they observe more men abandoning the notions of dating and marriage. Why does this trend appear to favor men? It's because men are becoming more cognizant of the potential risks and challenges that marriage can entail. Many men are now opting to follow their own paths, known as MGTOW, and steer clear of serious relationships. They are coming to realize that marriage, particularly in today's society, doesn't provide them with sufficient benefits in return. Now you might be pondering, this seems like promising news. The divorce rate has dropped to a 50-year low. There might be hope for individuals like me to discover love, wed, and enjoy a successful, fulfilling marriage. You may have noticed the statistic that only 9 marriages out of every 1,000 last year ended in divorce. If you calculate it, that still amounts to approximately 50% of marriages failing, which may not sound like a remarkable figure, but it remains significant. However, this decrease in the divorce rate is actually connected to a more troubling reality. Marriage rates in the United States hit their lowest level ever in 2019. In fact, marriage rates have been declining for several years, with 2019 marking the historic low. One article I came across discussed how thousands of men are opting out of marriage entirely. The female author outlined how this change has women feeling anxious and unsettled. The article delves into the experiences of women who have dedicated years to relationships, cohabited, and sacrificed everything for their partners without ever receiving a ring. There's no marriage, no bridal gown, no grand celebration with loved ones. And for some women, this embodies the painful truth of not being able to find a man willing to commit to marriage. The notion of raising children without the assurance of marriage also heavily contributes to this sense of loss. Now let's examine the second-hand market. This is where many men feel they are only approached by women once the woman has had all the fun with other men and is now in pursuit of stability and commitment. It's crucial to be frank here. Most of us, both men and women, have undergone failed relationships. Therefore, when entering the dating realm, it's uncommon to encounter someone who is entirely new and hasn't already endured their own experiences. But numerous women continue to convey their wish to explore relationships with different individuals before committing. However, some men view this as a pipe dream, particularly when they have established their lives and careers. These men question themselves. Why should I commit now that I've attained success when I wasn't acknowledged during my difficult times? It's hard for certain women to accept, but men frequently experience the hurt of being overlooked during their struggles. Nevertheless, upon achieving success, women suddenly show interest, and many men are now stating, "It's too late. Why didn't you recognize me back when I was striving to create something?" The writer of the article also highlights the widening gap between expectations. Many women still aspire to marriage, complete with all its traditional obligations, but as a considerable number of men choose to avoid it, this concept of marriage becomes increasingly unattainable. Sociologist Philip Cohen from the University of Maryland indicates that the long-standing decrease in marriage rates is significantly shaped by women's independence and gender equality. These changes in society are making marriage less attractive to men, particularly when the risks appear to be so substantial. Women's independence has granted them empowerment, but many men now perceive marriage as something that simply isn't worth the possible repercussions. A woman who may have undergone unsuccessful relationships and is now in her 30s or 40s might approach a man and say, "Hey, I've made some mistakes, but I've learned. Let's start fresh." While that may sound enticing, many men believe that by the time they reach their 30s or 40s, they are well established, financially secure, and have no interest in undertaking the emotional and financial risks associated with marriage, especially when they may not have the chance to experience parenthood until much later in life. The discussion then shifts to the problems that men encounter in marriage and family courts. Numerous men feel unjustly treated by laws that seem to favor women, particularly in divorce proceedings. This has led to the rise of movements like MGTOW, where men express dissatisfaction with gender-biased regulations and societal perceptions. As these movements expand, so does the number of men opting out of marriage. The article underscores that men are becoming increasingly vocal about these matters, and they are advocating for social change. Men no longer feel obligated to adhere to outdated societal norms and expectations. Instead of confronting or reacting negatively, many are simply opting to live autonomously, building satisfying lives without the burden of marriage. They derive happiness from friendships, hobbies, and enjoying life on their own terms. So, what does all of this imply for the future of marriage? It's evident that a significant number of men have lost interest in it, and societal influences are only strengthening this pattern. As male interest in marriage declines, intimacy without commitment is becoming increasingly accepted. Why should men commit to marriage when they can reap the rewards of relationships without any obligations? In this new landscape, women are feeling increasingly powerless and confused as they observe more and more men stepping away from conventional routes like dating, commitment, and marriage. It's a trend that has been progressively increasing over the years, with many men choosing to focus on their own independence, careers, and personal freedom rather than entering a relationship that may involve possible financial and emotional risks. Women who have been taught to expect that finding enduring love and starting a family would be a natural evolution in their adult lives are now left pondering whether that dream is even achievable. The societal change has created a sense of disconnect, where both men and women seem to be moving in opposing directions. The expectation to adhere to outdated standards of marriage and family life no longer appears to resonate with everyone. Therefore, the question persists. Is there still hope for enduring love and marriage in today's world, or are we witnessing the gradual emergence of a new lifestyle, one that may not include the traditional notion of marriage as we previously understood it? Could the evolving dynamics of relationships represent a shift toward healthier, more satisfying connections that do not necessitate a legal agreement to validate them? Or is it merely a signal of a broader disintegration of societal structures that once held relationships together? Perhaps there's a middle ground that merges personal autonomy with the aspiration for profound, significant connections. One thing is certain: the arena of relationships and marriage is evolving, and how we manage these transformations will influence the future for generations to come. What are your thoughts? Is the decrease in marriage just a fleeting phase, or is it symbolic of a more profound change in the way we perceive love, relationships, and commitment? Are we progressing toward a future where love and companionship can thrive without the constraints of traditional marriage? Or does marriage still hold significance as a cornerstone for the stability of families and society overall? Let's engage in an open and sincere conversation about this in the comments below. I'm genuinely interested in hearing your views on this topic, whether you align with the current trends or believe there's still an opportunity for a revival of the traditional family model. As always, I sincerely thank you for watching. If you liked the video, kindly give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to the channel for additional content like this. I value all your support, and I am eager to keep the discussion going with you in the comments section. Let's continue to explore these subjects together and discover what new insights we can all contribute. Your viewpoint is important.